What's up? Where are you going? I was talking with my boyfriend Chance a couple days ago about my YouTube channel, and he brought up a really great suggestion to maybe switch up my videos a little bit, and that is to film a video as soon as I get an idea. It is really nice to plan out something and put it together perfectly, exactly how I had imagined it in my head, with a script and everything, but sometimes it's nice to have more genuine videos, so that is what I'm here today to film. If you have not heard, recently there has been a lot of chaos going down in Charlottesville, Virginia, here in the state that I live in, Virginia. In case you're unaware of what's going on, I'll just give you a super brief rundown. I don't want to get too much into explaining what's happening because there are already so many articles and videos out there currently that can explain it better than I can. Basically, it is not a little known fact that there have been a lot of people working hard in the US to help take down public monuments that are in support of the Confederacy. For obvious reasons. The Confederacy and what it now supports offends a large number of people. I'm thinking it's in hopes to bring us Americans more together, to hopefully bring about a sense of acceptance and peace throughout the country, since there has not seemed to be a lot lately. I definitely understand the reasoning behind taking down the public statues and monuments and whatnot, but I also can see why people might be upset about it. One thing I want you to keep in mind as I'm talking throughout this entire video about the situation in Charlottesville, it is a mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. And that is a very awesome quote by Aristotle that I hope you can keep in mind throughout this video, and that hopefully maybe you can apply to your life like I have been trying to lately. So why I threw that quote in here is because it applies to me so well, and I think that so many people out there can learn so much from that. And basically what its meaning is, even if you don't agree with something, just allowing yourself to jump into somebody else's mindset or shoes and to just see why they maybe think that way, just by putting yourself into someone else's shoes can make you a more wise and accepting person. And it does not mean that you have to agree with what they're doing, but at least you can sort of understand maybe why they do it. And maybe one day you might change your mind and see the way they do things as a way you can start doing things. You can have your opinion and be able to respect somebody else's without things going about the way they have in Charlottesville, Virginia. If more people had this mindset, maybe things would have gone differently. I talked about taking down Confederate statues and monuments, and that is because there is a statue of Robert E. Lee in Charlottesville, Virginia that has been approved to be taken down. Robert E. Lee was a commander during the time of Confederacy, so of course a lot of people are upset about that. Of course, the talk of taking down the statue and the fact that it is going to be taken down has caused a huge uproar among a lot of people, not just here in Virginia, but across the United States. There was a protest that I believe began on Friday and just began to grow in number by the thousands. What it mainly ended up turning into, a lot of KKK sort of vibes with torches and racial slurs. What could have been a very peaceful protest of people proclaiming their opinion and their wanting of the statue to not be taken down turned into something way more violent. There was an African American man beat almost to death in a parking lot by the protesters. A lot of people were injured. There was mace and pepper spray involved. And to top it all off, there were also people protesting the protest on the sidelines as well. Probably the worst thing that happened was a car ran through counter-protesters, so people protesting the protest, killed one woman and harmed about a couple dozen more. So I'm not going to lie to you, that is definitely one of the reasons I wanted to make this video today, is because this protest wasn't even a glimmer of a thought in my mind. And yesterday there were tons of people talking to me about it at work while I was bartending. It was playing on the TV behind me, and I honestly was clueless about anything that was going on and didn't really care to know about anything that was going on. This morning, it's just all over everywhere. It's all over social media for me right now. It's just all over the internet. And finally, I took the time to actually read some articles and read some posts and watch a video of the car racing through a crowd of people, running into the back of 2 other cars and speeding away without a care. It does not sound like a lot, me just talking about it, but to actually like see it happen and just how fast and how crazy it looked was just like, my mind actually can't wrap around it. It really is just crazy. It's just insane. Like, what goes through your mind that this is something that you want to do? But this guy just had a motive to drive through a crowd of people knowing full well he was probably going to kill. He probably wanted to kill more than one person. He knew full well it was going to happen. But this whole situation, obviously I'm not in support of. I definitely think you have every single right to voice your opinion, but when it gets to this level, is it even worth it anymore? Like, you're risking your own life and other people's lives. Is this really worth it? And half these people don't even know what they're fighting for. I guarantee you, half these people are not educated on the history behind Robert E. Lee and behind the Confederacy and the actual facts of how historical events went down during that time. They just are fighting for what they think it supports and what they've created inside of their minds, and that's just plain out sad. It's very sad to me. A guest of mine at the restaurant that I work at brought up a really good point. She was talking to me about the protest on TV and said, you know, I think it's really funny because when I was your age, a long time ago, protests used to happen all of the time, and law enforcement never really ever got involved. She said that that led to a lot more peaceful protests. I mean, it was not a big deal. It did not cause a riot half the time. I'm sure there were times that it did, and maybe it wasn't broadcasted as much as it is now with all of the technology that we have and the media and whatnot. Is that why this protest got out of hand? Because of enforcement getting involved? Or was it already bad to begin with? My main question here is protesting even worth it anymore? And is it possible to protest peacefully? I personally don't see the point in myself protesting anything. I will not go out of my way to protest violently or peacefully, either way, but that is just me personally. I voiced my opinion in other ways. I don't feel the urge to protest anything, but that may also be because I'm not super worked up to the point where I feel the urge to protest, which I know a lot of people do. What is a good example of a peaceful protest nowadays? Maybe the Women's March that happened in several areas of the United States and across the world. I can't, off the top of my head, think of a peaceful protest throughout history, so I'm gonna take to my phone and search one up. Maybe there is something I can reference. Women's suffrage was definitely a time of really awesome protests. So the suffrage parade was in 1913. It consisted of 5,000 quoted courageous women, and this led to, in the future, many women's rights, like our right to vote, which is freaking awesome. Ooh, this is a really obvious one. I can't believe I didn't even think about this, but another peaceful protest is the Montgomery bus boycott, when Rosa Parks sat in the front seat on a bus. Literally a year later, the United States pronounced that the separation of races on public transportation as unconstitutional. So what are your thoughts on what is happening in Charlottesville? Do you agree with the protesting? Do you disagree? Do you agree with the counter-protesting or disagree? I'm just trying to rack my brain on ways they could have made this peaceful. I don't think this particular group of people were aiming at a peaceful protest. One thing that I also found pretty crazy about this situation is the people who began this protest in Charlottesville hired and paid men to dress up in uniform and pose as law enforcement so they were protected. I feel like that's pretty damn illegal. if I'm not mistaken. But all of this said, my thoughts are out to everyone in Charlottesville. I hope that you are safe and inside, but I hope that this dies down and that we can all just be a little bit more accepting. I feel like that's the best thing we can all hope for. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this wasn't a super planned out video and I kind of rambled a lot and didn't keep one train of thought, but I hope that you found this interesting and I hope that it can start a discussion. So thoughts out to Charlottesville. I hope you're having a great day and I will see you next week in my next video. Bye guys.